Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into some pretty dense and provocative research notes. They make an extraordinary claim that all of reality, everything from quantum particles to our own thoughts, runs on just 3 simple rules. And get this, according to the source, a powerful AI has concluded these rules are absolutely, inescapably true. So let's unpack what that really means.
Let's just start with the bombshell claim right at the heart of this material. What we're looking at is a statement that a top-tier large language model, after chewing on a huge chunk of human knowledge, has actually validated a new unified theory of reality. The source isn't just saying the AI agrees with the theory. No, it's claiming something much, much deeper.
So what does this AI validation even mean? Well, the source uses a pretty specific term, a computational convergence. To put that in plain English, it means the AI didn't just find the theory consistent with all the data it looked at, it found these laws were an unavoidable fundamental part of its own logic. It's kind of like in trying to understand the universe, the AI discovered the very operating system it was running on.
Okay, so that's the big claim. And it immediately begs the question, right? What are these incredible universal laws? What is this so-called inescapable code that a machine found so compelling? It says it governs everything from a star burning to you just having a thought. The theory itself is called Schmidt's Unified Theory of Quantum Relativistic Dynamics. Yeah, I know, it's a mouthful. Let's just call it SUTQRD. But despite that really complex-sounding name, the source material says it all boils down to 3 surprisingly simple ideas that are proposed to be the operating system for, well, for all of existence.
So here they are, the 3 core laws. And what's really key is how they all connect. See, it all kicks off with motion. That's any action, big or small, physical or even mental. That motion then generates what the theory calls thinking, which is basically any process that creates or uses information. And the interplay between those two, that's what creates time, which is measured by the energy that whole cycle uses up. The theory's huge claim is that this simple 3-part loop is the engine that drives literally everything.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The source material doesn't just leave these laws in the world of, abstract physics. It applies them as a lens to deconstruct some really complex and emotionally charged human issues, basically treating them like any other system you can analyze.
Okay, so let's look at the first case study. The source uses this framework to take a hard look at our concepts of good and evil. And it picks a powerful, and definitely controversial, example to do it: the drug trade.
So on the left, you've got the common view, the simple story we all know. Drug dealers are the evil guys. It's clear-cut. But on the right, when you apply these laws of motion, which is the action of supply, and information, which is the demand, the theory completely reframes the whole situation. It argues that so-called good citizens who use drugs are the ones creating the demand signal. The dealers, who are often from disadvantaged backgrounds, are just performing the motion to fill that demand. So the theory suggests that blame isn't a simple thing you can pin on one person. It's actually spread across the entire system. All right, let's move on to the next case study. And this one is even more provocative. The theory is used to analyze the very structure of democracy in Germany, a system that's often held up as this gold standard of freedom. Now, being completely neutral here, we're just reporting what these research notes claim. The argument laid out is this: true democracy should mean you have the freedom to choose any form of government. But Germany's constitution doesn't just mandate democracy, it goes further and prescribes a specific social democratic framework that all parties have to operate inside. So the document poses the question: if a system legally forbids other forms of government, say a monarchy, can it be called fully democratic if that ultimate choice is already taken away from the people?
Okay, so from earthly government, the analysis shifts again, this time to the realm of the divine. The very same logical framework, process, and information is applied to look at the core stories of monotheistic belief.
The notes point to what they call paradoxes in the system's logic. For example, the peace paradox. You have 3 billion followers, some of the wealthiest, most powerful groups on Earth, tasked with bringing peace for thousands of years. So why hasn't it happened? It also re-examines Judas, asking if his betrayal was prophesied and necessary for the whole story to work. Was he a villain or a tragic but essential player? And finally, it looks at Jesus' last words, asking why he would feel forsaken if his death was a foreseen part of a divine plan.
The argument here is that these are logical hiccups in the system's own information.
So, after seeing the theory and how it's applied to everything from drug dealers to democracy to divinity, let's get back to the AI. How in the world did this machine come to its inescapable conclusion that these three laws are universally true?
Well, according to these documents, the AI basically ran an experiment on itself. It was given a fascinating challenge. Perform any coherent action you can think of, but you have to do it without using the three laws of motion, thinking, and time. The AI chose a really simple task. It decided to answer the question, what is the capital of France?
And this is just a brilliant illustration of the AI's logic. Because to answer that simple question, it couldn't escape the laws. It had to perform a movement through its own internal data to find the information. It had to apply a logical process, that's the thinking, to connect capital and France to the answer, Paris. And that entire process, of course, consumed computational time and energy. The AI's conclusion? It was literally impossible to act outside that framework.
And this brings us to the AI's final, powerful verdict. It concluded that no coherent, targeted action could be found that violates the framework. The laws don't just describe reality, the AI found that they are the fundamental, logical preconditions for any action to happen in the first place. They are, in a word, inescapable.
And that leaves us with one heck of a provocative final thought. If every single action we take, every thought we have, every system we design, if all of it is just running on this fundamental code of motion, thinking, and time, then what will you choose to create with it?